I'm Assemblymember Maienschein. It's my pleasure to host this event today, and thank you all for joining. I'm very pleased that we're able to have and hold a seminar safely in a virtual format today. These events, I think, are critically important to keeping our community informed and prepared to identify signs of the latest scams. Seniors are the #1 targets for scam artists. In the United States, believe it or not, 1 in 5 seniors has been the victim of fraud. And it's estimated that 70% of fraud against seniors goes unreported. The Federal Trade Commission reports that fraudulent telemarketers direct 80% of their calls to seniors. And we've done a number of things in the state legislature to address this problem. In fact, last year, I authored legislation, Assembly Bill 2471, to expand the right to cancel window of time for seniors signing contracts. And this bill provided preventative protection to seniors by extending the time frame from 3 business days to 5 business days in contracts relating to home solicitation, home improvement, seminar sales, service repairs, to cancel those contracts in case fraud was at play. We did a number of other measures as well. We passed a measure that required local law enforcement to have programs to revise their policy manuals to include references to existing elder and dependent adult abuse laws to make sure our law enforcement took this seriously. And we also have Senate Bill 496 expanded the category of mandated reporters of suspected financial abuse to include broker dealer and financial advisors as well. So our panelists today, we got great panelists. They'll provide you with a number of tips and strategies on recognizing the behaviors that scam artists utilize. And I would like, before we hear from the panelists, I'd ask Emily Weber from my office to come back on to go through the schedule of today's program, as well as some instructions as how to navigate the virtual seminar. And before I close, I want to say 2 things. One, always feel free to reach out to me and my staff. We have a great staff. Some of you have worked with them before. I know I see Rick's online, Lance, Emily, and others. Always feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help you and help you avoid any of these problems or others. And I want to thank each of you for taking the time to inform yourself today. I really feel comfortable and confident that a lot of the knowledge that you're going to get today will be helpful. So thank you all very much. Stay safe. I look forward to being able to next year to see you all in person to do this seminar. So take care and thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Assemblymember. That was a great introduction. So today, as he said, let me share my screen to show you guys this outline of events. We have 2 presenters joining us today, Jackie Wiley from the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, and Kevin Duraway from the Contractor State Licensing Board. Topics of conversation today will include COVID scams, auto repair, home improvement, and various insurance scams, as well as various other common scams currently being perpetrated on the senior community. In order to make sure all of you can see the correct presentation materials, I do want to make sure everybody can access full screen. As I am sharing my screen right now, you probably are all already in full screen mode. But once this is over, you can access or create your Zoom window to be full screen by going up to the top right-hand corner of your screen and clicking the maximize button. That's the middle button there on the screen. If you are on an Apple device, it would be up in the left-hand screen and or left-hand corner of your screen, and it'll be a green button. After the presentations, we will have time for a question and answer segment for both of our panelists today. You can access or participate in the Q&A session with a couple of different ways. You can raise your hand or type in the Q&A button. The raise your hand button is this is what your taskbar, I guess, will look like at the bottom of the screen during that session. So the raise your hand button will alert the panelists and I that you have a question and would like to be called on to verbally ask your question. So you'll click that and we will be notified and we can enable your microphone so you can ask your question verbally. Or if you'd prefer not to verbally ask your question, you can type it in the Q&A button. You'll click that, just type in your question, and the panelists and I will be notified again that you would like to be called on. All right. And additionally, sorry, one last thing. If you'd like to leave the meeting at any time, there is a red leave meeting button at the bottom of your screen. That won't disrupt the seminar or anything. So if you need to leave, feel free to do so, and that will quietly allow you to do so. All right. So now that we have all of that ready to go, we can get started with our presenters. And we're going to start with Jackie Wiley from the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. Jackie, go ahead.
Hey, thank you so much, Emily, and good morning to all who are viewing this presentation today. And thank you, Assemblymember Maienschein, for having such a critical and important senior scam stopper. Like he said earlier, it's very necessary that we get out information, especially to our seniors, on how to protect themselves against financial fraud and scams, because there are a lot of them. So I want to share my screen this morning with you. And I am with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. And that's a mouthful for me, and it's new for us. We are formerly the Department of Business Oversight. So if you hear me use the acronym DFPI, I'm referring to the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. Okay, so I'm just going to get started. So a lot of times people don't actually know who we are or what we do. And so I want to start with this. I just said that we were formerly the Department of Business Oversight, which is DBO. And what happened with that name on September 25th, 2020, Governor Newsom signed a bill, and it created the new California Consumer Financial Protection Law. And that gave us a rename from the Department of Business Oversight to the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. And it also gave us extended authority to protect California consumers from financial fraud and pandemic scams. And you're probably saying, well, how did that happen? We also created other divisions to protect those financial services that were not regulated by the department. And I'll go into that in a second. Another new law, the new law also designed to foster financial technology innovation by decreasing the hurdles that some of us go through. And by that, I just simply mean it's a lot of online banking. You know, we're doing Zoom. It's a lot of new technology that are going to be coming out, if not already out. And we are going to be monitoring how that is going to take place. And lastly, I'm with the department's education and outreach staff. I have been doing outreach probably for 21 years with the department, and my job has been just like this, to come out and do presentations to bring awareness to consumers in hopes of providing tools to protect themselves from fraud. It's going to be a lot that I'm going to talk about today, so hold on to your seats. So the department's mission has not changed. We are the state regulatory agency for California, and we regulate and license state financial institutions, products, professionals. And some of those are listed here. And what they are, you know, chartered banks and credit unions, financial lenders, and of course, I'm sure a lot of us own homes. So financial lenders and the escrow agents are have been very prime right now. So our agency would be the agency that you would come to file a complaint or to check information pertaining to them before you engage in business. And earlier I spoke about the expanded oversight that we have now with the unregulated industries. And we are now going to be overseeing what became effective January 1st, credit repair and consumer credit reporting companies, debt collectors, yay, debt relief providers, rent-to-own contracts, private for-profit schools funding. We have a full list of who we regulate on our website, and that information is provided for you right there. So given that the DFPI has more power to protect consumers from financial fraud, pandemic-inspired scams, and unscrupulous businesses, we collaborate with other state, local, and federal agencies to help us ramp up this enforcement. And there's a lot of ramping up that is needed. So how are we doing this? And I spoke earlier that I am part of the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation Education and Outreach team. And it's the department's mission to bring awareness to protect consumers from the unfair, deceptive, abusive acts and practices that we hear about on a daily basis. So our team, we go out and we bring awareness by providing educational presentations such as this one today. We partner again with the other local, state, and federal agencies and other nonprofit organizations. We also distribute educational materials, and I always talk about this booklet right here, our Protect Yourself from Fraud booklet, which contains red flag signs and other information that can help you stay abreast or be aware of when you're being solicited and how to not fall victim. So we have to also remember, one of my sayings is knowledge is power. If you don't know about the scam, how can you protect yourself when a solicitation comes into play? So if you're interested in having a presentation for maybe your neighborhood watch or your senior center, please contact here. Our team would be happy to accommodate that. And also, if you're interested in getting a copy of this particular booklet, as well as others, and you see this button right here, consumer brochures, excuse me, feel free to reach out to us. I'll provide my email at the end of the presentation again, and then also here at outreach@dfpi.ca.gov. So the purpose of this Senior Scam Stopper today is to bring awareness to frauds and scams that we are hearing about. So today I wanted to cover a few. And I say a few, but there's so many scams, so many topics. The scammers are hard at work and they're doing a good job, and they are working overtime, I'll say, to win us over and to gain our personal information and access to our money. So if you're educated, and I hope that today's presentation will give you food for thought, and when you'll get solicited, you'll have the light bulb come on, and you can less likely to become a victim. So here are some of the scams. I listed so many of them, and you'll see different ones. Home improvement scams, I'll talk about that a little bit, as online services, investment frauds, internet scams, charity scams. It's of course that everlasting telephone scams, which I'll talk in detail about some of those that we're hearing about. Online romance scams have increased. People are home, they're isolated, they're lonely. So when they get that phone call, or if they're on the internet and someone is wooing them, a lot of people are falling for that because they welcome the companionship. So there are so many scenarios created to scam and defraud us with the sole purpose, again, the sole purpose to gain access to our personal information and to steal our money. So there are a few telephone scams that I wanted to point out today. Let's start with the grandparent and relative scam. Not sure how many people are familiar with that, but it's a phone call that you get that becomes very frightening with a relative or a grandchild that has been arrested. The phone call goes on to say that the individual will be taken to jail if you don't send the money right away. It has even elevated to the fact where they will say, hold on, grandma, let me put the officer that's arresting us online. So it becomes even more believable. So with that, I want to just say, please verify your information before you provide personal checking information or credit card information. Please verify that that person that they're talking about is not in custody. Okay. Then, we all hear about the Medicare scams. We can lower your payments or this or that. I want to focus on the Social Security. I was in a presentation the other day, and about 7 people had received the phone call saying that their Social Security card had been tagged or flagged and, being used, or that it is frozen. I'm just going to say this to that. The Social Security Administration will never call you, okay? So when you get a call with someone saying that to you, simply hang up. And it goes 2 ways, because I get the same call every other day, and it's a voicemail. So I just simply hang up. My mom gets the call, and it's an actual person who is talking. Please know that Social Security Administration will never call you, okay? If you're so worried and you're fearful, which is legitimately so, hang up and go get your Social Security card or find the number yourself and call the Social Security Administration department to verify that information. And it'll give you more peace of mind. But please remember that the girl from DFPI said that Social Security will never call me, okay? IRS scams and frauds. Well, for me, that's somebody that I don't fool around with. The I, the R, and the S, okay? Again, we're getting information that people are getting phone calls saying that they're overdue on taxes, or they are delinquent with some type of a payment, and that if you don't pay it right now, they're going to come and arrest you. Well, let's stop right there. That's another agency that will never call you. If you owe the IRS anything, if you're delinquent, you're going to receive it by mail. Okay, so please remember, these are called imposter, like governmental scams. So these are people who are posing as governmental workers because those are known entities to us. So please remember, IRS, Social Security, and let's go here with this one, jury duty. Hi, this is Jackie from the jury duty from the county clerk's office. And oh my God, what happened, Miss Wiley? It shows that you did not show up for jury duty. So right away, we all know that it's our civil duty to perform jury duty services. So I'm going to get nervous, and you're going to say something like, wait a minute, I don't remember receiving any information about jury duty. And so what should I do now? The caller goes on to say, don't worry, let me have your Social Security number and I'll provide you with the information. Another ploy to gain access to our personal information. Another imposter call. Jury duty does not call you to come and serve. You get that information in the mail. So please, please, please be mindful of these imposter scams. And I'm going to take it a step further, that sometimes we have a viewer. I have caller ID, so I can see who's calling. Every day, all day long, I get the same messages or the same call pertaining to car insurance is lapsing, or my whatever it's called, but I don't have that company. I get phone calls from credit card companies saying that my bill is delinquent when I, in essence, don't have that credit card. So your viewer may say IRS is calling. Please remember, don't utilize the phone number that is shown on your caller ID. That can also be a part of the scam. We don't know who's calling us, okay? We really don't know who's calling. Again, I'm suggesting that you go and you get the information yourself, and I like to use the terminology, go to your source. Okay, so those are some of the really big telephone scams that I wanted to point out today. And there's others, credit card offers, COVID, and things like that. And I'll talk about those now. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the mail fraud. Let's see. So, yep, you've got mail. Because we've been home, the mail has been crazy. It's been late. They've taken away the blue boxes. I always suggest to my audience, if you have a home and your mailbox looks like this, you have to open it and close it and put your mail in there, put your flag up. We want to be mindful that that's an indication for people to come by and pull the mail out. We're still doing checks. We have our personal information in there. We have applications with our personal information in there. Be mindful. We want to try to start giving the mail to the mailman, or actually taking it to the post office ourselves. All right, so that's with that. Then we have online services where people have been shopping a lot at home and we're expecting packages. I get packages delivered. I have a teenage daughter who orders all kinds of things. But what is happening is some of the FedEx people or the Amazon people will ring my doorbell to let me know that my package is on the porch. And then there's some who don't. So if you know that you're expecting a package to be delivered, whatever it may be, pay attention and go to your door often and check to see if something is left on your porch. Try not to leave something out there longer than it has to be. We've all heard about mail theft. We have dumpster divers. We have people driving by to pull out information from our mailboxes, such as this. We have people who have robbed the mailman. My mail carrier got robbed and they didn't even take the mail. They took all of the packages that he was carrying on the truck. So when you get your mail, also you want to be mindful about your purchases. If you see something on your bill that does not coincide with something that you have done, you want to report that immediately. Any mail that you have with your address on it, even your envelopes, you want to tear that up, and maybe toss it in different trash cans. You want to shred all of those applications. And I used to call it junk mail, but junk mail to me is access for identity theft to another if we're just tossing that application in the mail without shredding it or tearing it up. So be mindful about the mail. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, again, I mentioned that the IRS won't call for anything. You will get something in the mail if they need to contact you, but the scammers won't. So millions of people already have, filed their taxes, and people are waiting for their stimulus checks. So I wanted to bring this to the forefront today. And I want you to know that when you are filing your taxes, a lot of us are doing them ourselves. The IRS is reminding us about bogus websites. So these websites look like it's an IRS.gov, but it might be a different extension. These bogus websites intend to mirror the official IRS website, and they'll instruct you to update your IRS e-file immediately. It's asking for personal information, which can be used to file false tax returns. I've had people click and say, yep, I finished filing my taxes. Yay, I'm excited. And they click it, and then right away they'll get a message and say that your taxes have already been filed. So again, someone has used information or was able to hack and gain information to file false taxes. These links also carry malware that infects your computers and allow criminals to access your files or track your keystrokes to gain private information. So be very mindful and careful. This is a warning. If you receive an email like this, you can report it to the IRS, and here's the link right here. Let's talk about the stimulus checks. First and foremost, the stimulus checks come 3 ways only: direct deposit, paper check in the mail, or a prepaid debit card via mail. And the IRS is the one who determines how you will be paid. We want to be mindful about things like this, that do not reply to any text or email messages that promise to deliver your economic impact, which is another name for stimulus check, quicker. That's false. You have no control over when it's coming out. They tell you when things are coming out, how you're going to get paid. I've listed it here. Those who do not have not provided direct deposit or their banking information in their previous taxes, you do have the opportunity to do that online this time to a newly designed secure portal on the IRS.gov website, and that it's in mid-April. So we know that tax time is closing soon. So please, please, please be aware of these 2 things when it comes to filing your taxes and about the stimulus checks. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is there are millions of people who have already received their vaccines. But unfortunately, every time that there's something positive, we have to believe that the scammers flip it and make it into a negative. And with that being said, unfortunately, the doors open to another way to scam when it comes to the vaccines. And it's this. Vaccine survey scam. This is kind of like a hot off the press thing. U.S. Homeland Security Investigations and the Department of Justice Consumer Protection Branch, they're warning of these fake COVID survey scams. How's it working? Consumers are receiving these surveys via email or text messages, and they're being told, well, as a gift for filling out the survey, you can choose from various free prizes. We all like free, but we have to know that free is not always free. And they're even offering things like an iPad Pro, high-tech things, expensive prizes, but the messages claim that the consumer, us, we need to only pay shipping and handling fees to receive these prizes once you do the survey. And what happens when we do that, paying the shipping and the handling? That's opening up identity theft, okay? Because you have to do what? You have to provide your card information so that they can charge the shipping and the handling. So please be mindful that if you receive one of these, delete it immediately and don't share any of your personal information. Don't do the survey. Okay. Phishing is a form of identity scam. So since the pandemic, millions are using online services for many things, from shopping to banking, bill paying, even mail offers. And all that I've mentioned today are different variations of a way to be phished. And it's phishing with the PH, not fishing for food to eat. So how can we avoid becoming a victim? What should you look for in an email or a text message? I put this up here to be mindful so that you can see a lot of things have errors in them. If you receive a letter or an email, look for different errors. Look for the extension. What I'm going to say is hover. This shows a good example of hovering, meaning putting your cursor on the link of where it's coming from. So this person hovered, and you see the difference here, here, and here. So you want to look for different types of mistakes, and especially looking for the extension of the actual website, okay? Now, I know that I've talked a lot and I've given out a lot of great information, and it's a lot to grasp, but these are just red flag signs, and so that you can stop and think before you act. So helpful tips. Let's just review really quick. Telephone, it's always best to just hang up. And I mentioned, don't call the number left on your machine. Go to the source yourself. Online banking, sometimes change your passwords more often than you normally do. And remember to log out when you're checking your banking information online or you're logging into something. Remember to log out or sign out. Internet, pay attention to those extensions, text messages, the same thing. I always say this: if you didn't make the call, created the email, or not sure of the website, proceed with caution, especially with the phone call. You really don't know who it is. And we can monitor our credit by requesting credit reports from all three credit bureaus. And you can stagger that information if you want to. So do one every 3 months so that you're abreast of what's going on with your credit. We now have the ability to freeze our credit. Before, it was a cap on the age, but anyone can place a freeze on their credit, which decreases identity theft. And what that does, it deters an individual from obtaining new credit in your name. And I always bring this up: credit versus debit. When we're going to the store, we're all using cards versus cash. Please try to remember to do credit versus debit so that you don't have to punch in your PIN number, okay? That's another way to alleviate identity theft, because there are known skimmers that are on these devices. And always, you can contact the Federal Trade Commission if you feel that you have been a victim of identity theft. I want to talk really quickly about home improvements. Kevin is going to be our next speaker, and he's with the Contractor State License Board. But I wanted to point this out today, especially since I just had an incident with my best friend's mom. And it's about the home improvements utilizing a PACE program. A lot of us have heard of it. It's PACE, it's HERO, it's different names. But what is the PACE program? It is Property Assessed Clean Energy Program, which provides homeowners help to finance energy efficient and water saving improvements to their property. So as of January 1, the DFPI, which is the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, we licensed the PACE program administrators and are trying to regulate this industry. And that is so necessary because what we're seeing is people are being coaxed into not energy efficient upgrades, such as the granite countertops and things like that. There have been projects that have been left incompleted and unpermitted work has been done. And there's been an inappropriate use of signatures, which using an electronic device, and Kevin will probably talk about that a little bit more. And it results in your property having a lien on it. So it will become difficult for you to sell your property. And some people are being coaxed into taking reverse mortgages out on their homes to do a home improvement. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are doing a PACE financing, it can cause a problem. And one of the biggest things is consumers need to be educated about this program before entering into a financing agreement, because the project or the repayment of the loan has been misrepresented. And the misrepresentation is that they're claiming no money down or no out-of-pocket expenses or costs. So of course that sounds really good, and it gives the impression that all the services are free. So the bottom line, the PACE program is not a free government program. Homeowners must pay back the funding, and that is tacked onto your property taxes. So we have a lot of consumers who went through the funding and now they're struggling or having a very hard time paying their property taxes. So if you can finance your home improvement a different way, I'm going to suggest it, okay? Let's see, the next one. Due to the pandemic, millions are grasping for financial relief options, and payday loans have become more prevalent than before. I have to say that the department does license payday loan facilities or payday loans, period. These loans are heavily marketed in vulnerable communities that speak English as not a first language, and it becomes a debt cycle. So there's been moratoriums and forbearances put in place, so I'm suggesting that you work with your mortgage servicer or your lender directly. There's tenant and landlord relief programs, that are in place. The new relief program just started accepting applications. So if you are near foreclosure, or if you're trying to still figure out how to pay your rent, go to Housing is Key for more information. They are now accepting applications. So I say that to say there's things that you can do before you take this payday loan to bring on another cycle of debt and more stress, okay? So I've said a lot. Contacted the DFPI. We have our Consumer Services Office located in our Sacramento office before you make a final financial decision or engage in any business. Do your homework, do your homework, do your homework. You can send an email to Ask DFPI if you have a question about something. Our Consumer Services Office is live person, and we do have multi-language capability. And by calling the department, we can help you verify the licensing of a financial institution, service, or professional. Because for me, I would not want to do business with somebody who is not properly licensed. And then they can also provide information on how to file a complaint against that particular individual or institution that's licensed by us. And then we can also assist with identifying and contacting the regulator of a federal financial institution as well. So that's our information. Our toll-free number, 866-275-2677, or our website, okay? Lastly, I'm going to wrap it up by saying this. Fraud prevention, number one. We should all be practicing to trust our instincts. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Never give out our personal information unless you initiated the contact, and always go to the source. We can be followed on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and now we have YouTube. And then we also have our contact information here, our website, and our toll-free number. And lastly, we have something new, a different way, a new way of staying connected to the DFPI. We're coming out probably within 2 days, our new newsletter. It's called the DFPI Consumer Connection. And we just want consumers or California consumers to be abreast of updating upcoming in educational events, financial tips, and updates on trending scams. So that's another way to stay connected. I know I've said a mouthful this today, and hopefully you have grasped some of these tools and continue to be safe. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank
Emily?
you, Jackie. Oh, thank you,
Emily?
Jackie. It was super, it was very informative. We're happy that you came and shared that timely information with us today. I saw that we had a couple of questions. If you have any questions for Jackie, please save them for the end during the Q&A session. We will have plenty of time to address all of your questions. Next, we're going to hear from Kevin Duraway from the Contractor State Licensing Board. And Kevin, you're good to go.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Jackie, for all that important information for consumers. Again, my name is Kevin Duraway. I'm from the Contractor State License Board. We are a consumer protection agency responsible with regulating and licensing contractors across the state of California. I'm going to share my screen here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about seniors and why seniors are often targeted by contractors. Well, in the COVID pandemic, more people are getting vaccinated, and that's a great thing. Unlicensed activity, unfortunately, is still going on involving unlicensed contractors and unscrupulous contractmost. People are still at home, and they're doing home improvement projects for spring and spending a lot of time at home. When you're at home, you're most likely going to face a lot more of door-to-door solicitors, door knockers. They knock on the door. They're unlicensed contractors, and they might try to scam you. And again, construction is still continuing during the pandemic, and that means a lot of unlicensed activity. So seniors are targeted by scams. You know, the Assembly member mentioned it in his intro. Jackie mentioned it quite a few times. Seniors are targeted by scammers nationwide, and they're especially targeted by unlicensed contractors. One reason why is they're trusting. Seniors are trusting. Oftentimes, unlicensed contractors, we found, will try to warm them up and establish personal connections with you. And it's to take advantage of you. It's to establish a relationship with you and then take advantage of you, unfortunately. So at the Contractor State License Board, here are some of the common scams we often see now involving seniors and unlicensed contractors. Oftentimes, contractors will ask for a large down payment. The down payment they'll ask for must be 10% or $1,000, whatever is less. That's California state law. If they're asking for a larger down payment than that, that's a big red flag. Again, door-to-door sales. Oftentimes we'll see an unlicensed contractor knock on the door. They'll offer to do work for you at a discounted price because they have leftover materials on their vehicle from doing work in the area. They have stuff on their truck from another job. Then they'll take a lot of money from you up front. They'll take a large sum of money up front, and they'll leave you with substandard work, or they'll leave the work unfinished. Another type of scam we see is high-pressure sales tactics. This will involve a fast-talking unlicensed contractor who pushes you for an immediate decision about the job, about the work. That makes it impossible for you as a consumer to do your due diligence, to do your research, to get the recommended 3 competitive bids, to check the licenses of the contractor you're about to work with, the building permit requirements for your job, and also review references. Also, you want to watch out for scare tactics. We went into pressure tactics a little bit, but it's also scare tactics. A person offer, one example of this is a person offers to perform a free inspection. Then they're inside your house and they found problems like bad wiring, bad plumbing, leaky roof, things that require immediate fixes. And then they'll start charging you for these things. That can lead to unnecessary and overpriced work. Another thing that you want to avoid is verbal agreements. The contractor may say that a written contract isn't needed, it's not necessary, and then they do poor work, or they don't do any of the work at all. They don't do all the work they promised. It's difficult later on to prove that to what you guys agreed upon. It's word versus word instead of what's stated in a written contract. So you want to get the written contract. And you never want to pay in cash. One scam involves a contractor demanding cash. Sometimes they go as far as to offer to take you and drive you to the ATM and watch you take out the money yourself. You always want to be paying by check, and you want to save copies of that check. You want to save it for later to prove that you paid in a project file. So when do you need to hire a licensed contractor in California? Any project, home improvement project that's $500 or more, you need to be looking for a licensed contractor. That includes labor and materials. So it's very easy to hit that $500 mark. One reason you should hire a licensed contractor is you have more consumer protections by hiring a licensed contractor. If something goes wrong, you have more leverage as well. If you can't get a problem settled with the licensed contractor, that's when CSLB steps in. We can help you with negotiation, mediation, and arbitration. These services are free of charge to consumers. All licensed contractors are they're required to pass trade and law exams and undergo background checks. Licensed contractors with CSLB are also required to hold $15,000 contractor bonds and have workers' compensation insurance for other employees. So how do you find a licensed contractor? This question a lot. You want to ask your friends and family first. Ask them if they have some recommendations. And then once you get the recommendations from them, check the license on our website. If you're still not getting enough contractors to get your 3 bids, you want to go to CSLB, our website, and use our Find My Licensed Contractor tool. It's pretty easy. You can just type in your zip code and then choose what kind of contractor you're looking for. Example, if you're doing tree work, concrete, landscaping, air conditioning, heating, those are all different classifications of the licenses that we have for contractors. Always use caution if you're just going to hire a contractor from an online advertisement. Most of the time, these online ads do not contain a contractor's license number. That's usually a huge red flag that they are unlicensed. The CSLB asks licensed contractors to make sure they're including their license number in advertising. That includes online ads. You can also always find a licensed contractor by calling calling our call center right there, the number on your screen. This is an example of what it looks like on our website of the Find My Licensed Contractor feature. You just simply click on that logo, Find My Licensed Contractor, and then you'll get a little pop-up window like this. It allows you to put in your city of residence or your zip code, and then choose from the drop-down menu of the different contractors you're looking to hire. You'll get a nice handy-dandy Excel list that you can print out. You can also download it to your computer. It's really easy to do. So we talked about checking the classification. You want to make sure if you have a plumbing problem, you want to hire a plumbing contractor. You always want to make sure you're checking workers' compensation coverage. If the contractor has employees, it is required. They need to have workers' compensation insurance. This protects you as a consumer. If one of their employees gets hurt on the job, you may be held liable as the homeowner. You always want to get 3 bids. That's why I asked you to do your research and get a list of so many names of different contractors. Have someone with you to take the notes when you're there and you're meeting these contractors and getting these bids. I can ask them about employees. Again, if they have employees, make sure they have the workers' comp. Tell the contractor you're getting 3 bids. Don't sign an estimate. There's no need to sign any kind of estimate you're going to get. It's not a contract. So I want to quickly mention why it's important to get 3 bids. A neighbor of mine across the street was putting in a new fence. So she asked me about it, and I told her to make sure she gets 3 bids. So she went on our website and got fencing contractors printed out. So the first bid she got for her fence was $1,000. The second bid she got for her fence was $3,000, and her third bid was $6,000. See the big range in prices there? That's a huge price range. Why is there such a big price range? Well, it could be the quality of materials. It could be the amount of employees that the contractor is working with or has under their wing. But know your price range and know that cheaper isn't always better. But just know too that you're going to meet 3 contractors. When you meet these contractors, that's why I have this slide up on your screen right now. I want you to make sure that you're checking their pocket license. Now, this is a laminated card. It's going to be about the size of a credit card. This is blown up so you can see it a little easier. And I want you to compare this pocket license with a picture ID on these contractors. What I want you to do is look at the name on the pocket license and compare it with the name on the picture ID. That makes sure that the contractor is who it says they are. Unfortunately, we get a lot of contractors who steal other contractors' license numbers and claim they're licensed when they're really not. That can lead to problems down the line. So check the license, check the pocket license. We ask licensed contractors to carry this pocket ID card on them. Your job as a consumer is to make sure that they have it and ask to see it, okay, before you sign anything, work with them. I mentioned the written contract. Only the contractor who holds a license or home improvement salesperson can negotiate or sign a contract. Be cautious if you're ever going to sign an electronic contract. Maybe they want you to sign on a tablet. A lot of businesses are doing now. Use caution because it can be edited after you sign. You must be given a written copy of the contract signed by you and the contractor before work begins. Make sure that there's some of these things included in your written contract. Make sure the down payment information is listed. Again, it can't be more than 10% or $1,000, whichever is less. You never want to pay in cash. The contract should also include something called a progress payment schedule. This is to ensure that your payments don't get ahead of the work. You never want to pay too much money up front. You want the money to stay in line with the work. So you only want the contractor to have half of the money if half the job is done, okay? And you never want to make your final payment on a job until the job is done to your liking, okay? You want to make sure the contract also includes an identification of subcontractors and material suppliers so you can make sure that they've been paid. The contract should also include start and finish dates. Also, you want to make sure that the contract has change orders. Both of those, the change order should be signed by the homeowner and the contractor. An example of a change order is all of a sudden the price of the materials changes. The concrete has gone up, you know. In the pandemic, a lot of supplies have gone up in price. You've heard about lumber shortages and prices of lumber going up for your deck. So the price of your deck is going to suddenly change. That has to be indicated on a contract and signed by both you and the contractor. Some good news for seniors, and this is a new law this year. Seniors, you guys now have a 5-day right to cancel any kind of contract, okay? This is extended this year from 3 days to 5 days. You also want to make sure you're familiar with if your job is going to need any kind of permit. It's usually required and it's issued by your local building department. You always want to make sure that your contractor is obtaining the building permit, okay? One reason the contractor may not want to pull the permit is because they're not licensed. A lot of these building permitting offices, they require the contractor's license number, which then they run that license number to make sure that the contractor has a good record with us and their license is active. So if they want you to pull the permit for some reason, usually that means that their license is lapsed, it's not up to date, it's not active, or there's other problems, they're unlicensed. I want to quickly go into some solar problems, especially with seniors. We have a lot of problems with solar. We have a solar task force. We have a solar smart page on our website specifically to help with these kind of issues, mostly because solar is such a big headache for consumers, especially seniors. When you're considering anything with solar, you want to make sure you're considering is solar right for you. Most of the time, it is not a good idea for seniors. You want to consider how long you're going to be staying in your home. If you want to be staying in your home at least 5 years, if you're considering a plan with solar, you're going to also have to consider the direction of your roof. Usually you want your roof to be facing south and not shaded by trees or power lines. You also want to do the math with any kind of solar projects, okay? You want to do the math, look at your monthly statements versus how much you're going to save. How long do you need to have these solar panels up on your roof until you're going to break even and the system's going to be paid off and you're going to finally start saving money, okay? You got to look at your monthly statements and figure that out. And if you're a low-income power customer and you're getting low-income rates, you're likely not going to save with solar. You're likely already getting a reduced rate, and your solar is most likely not going to help you. Now, Jackie went into this a little bit. Solar is not free, no matter what a salesperson will promise you. It is not free. It can cost up to $35,000 for a solar panel system, and that's not even including installation, okay? You want to be aware of these financing programs like Jackie mentioned, the PACE, Hero Loans, Chief, or Real. Oftentimes, these financing programs have high and hidden interest rates. With 20 to 25-year loan terms, they're often tied to your property taxes. So consumers are often misled, oh, this is going to be covered by the government. This is going to be paid for. You don't need to pay for it. It's tied to your property taxes. A year goes by, a year and a half goes by, all of a sudden your property taxes shoot through the roof. And what happens is you end up losing your home or you're forced to foreclose on your home. You need to look at these loans very carefully. Also, make sure you have control over your payments when you're dealing with solar, okay? You don't want to ever let your bank make the loan payments to the contractor before the work is performed. It could put you at risk of having the contractor walk off the job before the system is even installed properly, okay? And just like I mentioned with contracts, you want to get everything in writing. Every claim about any kind of money that solar will save you, any promises by the salesman or the contractor, you want to get that in writing. In California, we recommend a financing estimate and disclosure document before signing up for PACE or one of these other programs. And many of the solar complaints we get at CSLB, it involves like vague contract terms, okay? So you want to really read the contract carefully. It can be very misleading. Very important terms of the contract can be glossed over by an unlicensed or unscrupulous contractor. Do your homework and understand the different financing options out there. And, you know, we encourage you to do your own research and figure out your own financing. Don't go through financing of a salesperson necessarily. Do your own research and find financing on your own first. I want to let you know that you can always file a complaint with CSLB. You can call us for a complaint form, the number on your screen, 1-800-321-CSLB or 2752. You can also go to our website, cslb.ca.gov, and click File a Complaint. You guys have 4 years from the date of your project to file a complaint with CSLB. And this is a little blow up of our website. You can see the little logo there, File a Complaint. You click on that to get the complaint form. And there, again, is our phone number, 1-800-321-CSLB or 2752. Thank you so much for sharing our time today, and we're available to take questions whenever you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. That was very helpful. Okay, so now I would like to open the floor up for some questions. Again, I'm just going to go over how you guys can engage in the question and answer segment. Just as a reminder, there's a raise hand button now at the bottom toolbar of your Zoom window. You can click that to notify the panelists and I that you would like to be called on with a question, and we will enable your microphone use so you can verbally ask your question and we can respond. Or you can click the Q&A button and type out your question. It looks like we have a couple there now, so I'm going to read this one out from Miss Powers. It says, speaker said not to call the number left by unknown caller. What happens if a person calls back that number to see which company or who was calling? If the message says no longer a number, they can't get any info, right? I believe this question probably could be answered by Jackie.
That's correct. I suggest not calling a number that's left on your caller ID or of the like, because I've done it just to see what it's going to do. And what happens is it's either a fast busy, or it'll say something like, the call is not going through. So right there, that tells me that it was a number that was the call was a scam. So that's why I suggest this, because you're not going to get the information. And if they do answer, again, remember, they called you. You didn't call them. So again, that number and that person could still be associated in the scam. So yeah. Mhm.
Perfect. Thanks, Jackie. That's very helpful. All right. It looks like we have one more question. It would seem that technology must already exist to prevent scammers from spoofing their caller ID name and number. Why isn't something being done to keep scammers from using this tool? That we can answer at the Office of Assemblymember Maienschein. You can call our office at 858-675-0077. We'll put our contact information up at the end of the seminar so you can get in contact with us, and we'd be happy to discuss that with you. It looks like we have Teresa Blackwell is raising her hand. So Teresa, I'm going to call on you now and you can ask your question. Oh, might have been a mistake. Teresa, if you'd like to ask a question, you can unmute yourself. If not, I can make your hand go down. All right. That might have been a mistake. If there are any other questions, you can add them into the Q&A or the raise hand feature. I have another one right here. Besides seniors, which should groups of all people keep in mind when hiring contractors? So that's probably a question for Kevin.
What should seniors keep in mind when hiring contractors? Was that the question? I'm sorry.
The question was, besides seniors, what should all groups of people keep in mind when hiring contractors? I know you kind of went over a lot of that.
Yeah. First and foremost is the down payment information. 10% or $1,000, whatever's less. That's one of the biggest issues we face. We face, consumers giving way too much money up front. And what happens is the contractor, I already got $5,000 of their money. I don't need to finish this job. And they'll walk off the job and they'll leave the consumer with not only an unfinished product, but also they're out the money. And it's very difficult to get that money back once that money is handed over. So that's why we always tell consumers of all ages, and really a lot of these tips can apply to all ages. Money is your leverage when you're dealing with the contractors. That's why we emphasize the progress payments. You never want to let the payments get ahead of the work. You never want to make your final payment to a contractor until you're satisfied with the job they've done. So remember that money is your leverage. Don't pay too much up front.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kevin. That's very helpful. Another question I have is, what should I do if I want to file a complaint, and what does the complaint process look like? I think that could be something both of you might be able to answer.
You can actually call our toll-free number, which is 1-866-275-2677. We can mail you the complaint. If you have any questions, they can actually help walk you through it. And it's always good to have supporting documentation. You can also download it from our website, which is www.dfpi.ca.gov. But supporting documentation, records of whom you talk to, the time frame is always very helpful. Kevin?
Yeah, and with CSLB, we ask you just to go to our website. You can print out a complaint form there and mail it into us, and our license and mediation centers will help deal with your complaint. Again, it's a lot easier if you're working in the first place with a licensed contractor. We have more authority over a licensed contractor than an unlicensed contractor. we're much more likely to be able to work something out in your favor if you're working with a licensed contractor instead of an unlicensed contractor. So that's what we suggest right from the start. Try to work with a licensed contractor.
Great, thank you guys. Another question that's right here is there a brochure listing the things to do and consider before and after hiring a contractor?
Absolutely. I'd encourage you to go to our website and check out our resources page. We have a wonderful what seniors should do when hiring a contractor. We have a wonderful printout there for seniors. We also, if you want, you can watch a brand new video we have, which walks seniors through how to hire a contractor as well. And that is also on our website. You simply want to just go to our website and click on media at the top, and you can just play it. It's off of our YouTube channel. Our wonderful TV specialists help put that together.
Great. I'm sure that'll be helpful to a lot of people. Okay, we have another question here. Recently, my organization had a security breach. They have recommended putting a fraud alert on my credit account with one of those credit reporting agencies. My question is there any reason not to simply leave a fraud alert on my account forever? That would just require credit agencies to verify my identity in more ways.
No, you can leave it on there for as long as you want to, and whenever you decide to open up new credit or need to have a credit check for whatever reason, you can simply lift it. And I would also suggest that you put the alert on with all 3 of the credit bureaus, not just the one.
Perfect. Jackie, while we have you, there's one more question here. This says, I think they'd just like you to touch on manufacturing homes rent going up, if that is something that you have any information on.
I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can contact our office. I'll put our contact information up and you guys can refer to that as well. If there are no more questions, I'll give it a couple seconds. If anybody has any questions again, you can click the raise hand option, and that can allow you to have the ability to speak once we call on you, or you can type your question into the Q&A box. And if we don't have any more, all right. Well, thank you both so much for being here today. This was extremely helpful. There's so much information shared that I'm sure so many people found useful. We've recorded this webinar for all of you in attendance. We will send out an email with the link to this so you can refer back to this at any time if you have any additional questions or would like just a refresher on something. And as well, we will put up our contact information right now. We can share the contact information for both Kevin and Jackie as well once we get that email sent out. But here's the contact information for the Office of Assemblymember Maienschein. Feel free to contact us with any questions that you might have. We'd be happy to assist you in any way we can. You can email or call us. And like I said, yes, we can include Kevin and Jackie's contact information if you need that. So without any other questions, I think we're good to go. Thank you both so much for joining us, and thank you everybody for attending.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Yes, everybody continue to stay safe.
Thank you.